Hi, everyone. This is Carrie with Character Productions, and today we're back for day 11 of the Trezell and Jacqueline West trial. Now, quick note before you get into this video, I want to let you know I just found out today that number one, this is a short one because this was only a half a day worth of trial. They will not resume trial until Tuesday of next week. So, if you don't get an update, that's why. We'll be back on Tuesday to give you the latest and greatest. Until then, let's go over what happened today on the stand. Okay, one of the witnesses that came up today was Ralph Mosley. And he is the biological father of Sincere Pettis, the birth name of Orrin West. Mosley said he was advised by a court that his son was being adopted and was told his parental rights were being terminated. He said that the first time he learned of the boy's disappearance was after seeing it on the news. He says he called his mom as he felt there was nothing he could do. Mosley said he did go to Cal City maybe 2 or 3 days after learning of their disappearance. He went with his family and wife. Once he got there, Mosley said he saw people giving interviews. He said he began helping with one of these searches. He said while he was there, he never made contact with Trezell or Jacqueline. He had never been to Cal City before that time. Prosecutor Smith asked if Mosley has any family members with the name or nickname TT, and he said no. So apparently that name has been come up more than once in the trial from Prosecutor Smith. So we do believe he's going somewhere with that name. We just don't know where yet. Mosley had a DNA swab taken by the Bakersfield police. And the last question that Prosecutor Smith asked Mosley was, have you ever went to Cal City to take the boys? And he said no. Defense attorney Torres Stallings, who is the attorney for Jacqueline West, asked Mosley if any of his belongings were ever seized by police, and he said none were. Then Mosley corrects his earlier statement that when he had family members who went to Cal City to look for the boys, he meant people he is close to, friends who he considers like family. She asked if any of these individuals had gone to Cal City before, and he said he was not sure. Mosley said that the search wasn't even really a search, they just started walking around. Mosley said the last time he saw Sincere was maybe 2018 or 2017, immediately after he took a paternity test. He said this was the only time he'd ever seen the child. Torres Stallings concluded her questioning with him, and Hennessy got up and began asking whether he knew the boys had had their names changed after being adopted, and he said he did not. And they concluded there. Again, goes back to, is this witness really credible? Because it doesn't seem like he's really in the boys' lives. The next witness they called up was Maria del Carmen Noriega. I know I'm butchering that. Salas. And they did have an interpreter for her. She lives at Casa Loma Apartments, and she's been there for over 10 years. Prosecutor Smith was asking her about the evening of September 19th, 2020. She remembers that day because her daughter was leaving for Massachusetts, and they were cleaning it all weekend, even late into the night. Assuming when she says it, she's talking about her apartment. Prosecutor Smith asked Alice what she observed around 11 p.m. that night, and she said that while she was cleaning the apartment, when her son-in-law told her a friend would be stopping by to pick up furniture. Salas said she heard a really loud noise next to the dumpster right outside the apartment. She said it sounded like someone dumped something into the dumpster and made a loud noise. She said she walked outside and saw a couple come out from where the dumpster was. It's getting good, you guys. Smith asked Salas what she could recall about the people, and she said the man had dark skin and was tall and thin. She said the woman was light skinned with curly, wavy hair reaching down to about her mid-arm. Smith asked if they were Smith then asked if they were carrying anything, and Salas said she saw them carrying an ice chest. Oh, goodness. Oh, my goodness. They were both carrying it by the handles. Salas tries to demonstrate how large because she believes the chest was. So she's trying to show him like how big it was. And then the judge brought out a measuring tape. So it's about 21 inches in width. Prosecutor Smith then asked her if she saw where they walked, and Salas said that they walked the sidewalk for a bit, stopped, looked at her, then continued walking. Salas said they turned into another street next to the apartments before going inside. She said they then came out right away, and Salas noticed they grabbed something skinny and the man placed it on his shoulder. She said they continued walking towards a grassy area and turned a corner. That that could have been Orrin, you guys. Because remember they said he never made it to Cal City. Now Orson they think might have made it to Cal City, but it's still kind of unknown. Now, she did say that the time they spent inside the apartment was quickly, maybe only 3 or 4 minutes at most. When they exited the apartment, they were by themselves. So then Prosecutor Smith brings up a map of the plot plan of the apartment complex. And she's describing where her daughter lived and where she saw the couple walking that night. She said after leaving the apartment, the couple walked towards a grassy area with trees. Salas said she'd never really had seen the couple before. Perhaps she saw the man once before carrying a stick and a diaper to a different dumpster. She said that had happened maybe a month prior in August. So then the prosecutor brought up an image of Trezell, and she says she recognizes him. She said it's the same man she saw that night. She said aside from the mustache in the image, it's the same man. Then he showed her an image of Jacqueline, and she says it's the same woman she saw that night. She said she remembers her because her beautiful hair stood out to me. Smith asked if Salas spoke about this to any of the other neighbors, and she said yes. She said she also called law enforcement and told them about it that night. Oh my goodness gracious alive. Now the defense attorney, Fatima Rodriguez, gets up and does the cross. And let me tell you guys, Fatima gets frustrated with this woman, which kind of, she kind of lost her, like, I would say she kind of lost her cool. She was kind of rude to the woman, actually. Okay. So she asked her about that day on September 19th, 2020. She said, so you've been cleaning all day. It was around 11 p.m. You hear a noise by the dumpster. She says, correct. And then Rodriguez confirmed. She goes, okay, you never saw these individuals throw anything into the dumpster that night, right? And she says, no, I did not. Okay. She asked her about an interview that she had with police. And the interview was done in Spanish with one of the officers repeating her answers in English to the detective. Rodriguez asked Salas if she knew it was recorded. Salas said yes. Rodriguez asked if she remembers telling the officers she never saw the couple's face. She said she doesn't remember. Rodriguez asked if she told law enforcement that night she saw 2 black people. Salas said she was referring to Trezell. Rodriguez asked if she remembers telling law enforcement she only saw 2 black people, not a Hispanic woman. And this is where they got kind of back and forth. And Salas kept saying, no, I remember this well. I remember it really well. So Salas said she only remembers telling them she saw a man and a woman that night. So Salas said in January of 2021, when she was interviewed by police, that she had seen a lot of media coverage of the case. Rodriguez asked Salas if she remembers talking to her neighbor about the West, and if she remembers telling her neighbor she couldn't be sure. Salas says she remembers saying she would have to see them again. Salas said she's been remembering more and more lately. And when Rodriguez asked her if she remembers telling police officers repeatedly that she hadn't seen the couple's faces the night of September 19th, 2020, because it was too dark, she said she doesn't remember saying that. Salas said maybe the officers didn't understand her, or maybe it was because of translation, but she's sure she saw the couple's faces. This is where Rodriguez was getting irritated with her. So she tried to, ask her in a different way or whatever. She asked Salas if she remembers telling the officers that she wouldn't be able to recognize the couple she saw that night. And she says no, she's sure she could. So then she showed her the report the officers had made in regard to her interview in January of 2021. And the report says that she told officers she couldn't recognize the couple from that night. Now, 3 years later, you're saying you can? Rodriguez said. Salas was the one to reach out to law enforcement in January of 2021. Rodriguez asked if Salas remembers telling law enforcement her daughter had a Ring camera on her apartment. When all this happened, I called her in Massachusetts and said, check the cameras. Her daughter didn't have any video from that night. Salas had been on the phone when she saw the couple in September of 2020, and she told police that after the call was disconnected, she pretended to continue talking on the phone. Oh, she's one of those good nosy neighbors. Okay. During the hearing, Salas said the woman in the photo had a fuller face than the woman she saw that night. Rodriguez finished her cross, and then Smith got back up and did his redirect, and he was asking her about being shown images in a previous hearing. She said she did say the woman's face was a little fuller, but the people she saw on the TV were the same people she saw that night. And he concluded his redirect. And Rodriguez asked again if Salas remembers telling law enforcement she saw 2 black people that night. Just to be clear, you don't remember saying you saw a black male and a black female. And Salas says, no. I was getting tickled when I was listening to that. So the judge allowed the transcript to be read by the interpreter and translate the highlighted portion to Salas. And Salas responded to the interpreter by just saying no. Salas said the reason she said 2 black people may have been because she was nervous. Rodriguez says, so the reason you lied and said 2 black people was because you were nervous? Yes, Salas said. And then they asked for a sidebar. So the jury was asking the judge regarding something Salas was telling the interpreter before being interpreted by Rodriguez. It was regarding Salas saying she wanted to get something off her chest. Salas says that night has stayed with her, and she remembers it very well because she felt fear. She said it didn't sit well with her, that she sensed that something wasn't right. And then she was excused, and they took a recess. They called the next witness to the stand, which was Laura Aguirre. She said the previous witness, Salas, called her that night in September of 2020, telling her to stay on the phone. And she said Salas told her she saw someone throwing something away in the dumpster and she was scared. She said Salas told her to stay on the phone with her because she had a bad feeling. And Aguirre, can I call her? What's your first name? What's her damn first name? Laura. And Laura said Salas told her to stay on the phone feeling. Laura said she tried to calm her, telling her it was no big deal. Then they brought up that diagram again, and then Laura was living in the apartments as well at the time. So Prosecutor Smith shows her a picture of Trezell, and Laura says that she remembers seeing him around the apartments, always with a stick in hand. She said she didn't see him very often. And see, that's key because Salas also said she saw him with a stick. She'd only see him walking with a stick in his hand, throwing diapers away. When shows a photo of Jacqueline, she said she didn't remember seeing her. When she saw the news report about Orrin and Orson missing, Laura said she was shocked. She said she remembers Maria calling her, crying, saying it was the couple that she saw by the dumpster in September of 2020. Smith asked Laura if she ever saw the West vehicle, and she said she remembers them having a van. She said they would usually park it in a vacant area, not their own parking space. Laura said she would sometimes see Trezell walk to the van when she was walking her dog. She said she never really paid much attention to him. Okay, so then they put up the aerial map and she was showing them where they parked their van usually. Laura said that they would park next to Jacqueline's mom, Maria Martinez's apartment. She said everyone knew that Maria was a foster mom. Parked next to Maria, lived next door to Maria, hardly ever interacted with Maria though. Remember, guys, going back to all that? Maria's holding something back, and you guys, we all know it. Okay. So Fatima Rodriguez got up from the defense on Jacqueline's side, and she began her cross, and she asked Laura if she remembers telling Silas that people were always by the dumpster making noises, and she said yes. She finished her cross by asking if the only time Laura would see Trezell is when she walked her dog, and she said yes. And then Timothy Hennessy, who is Trezell's defense attorney, got up and was asking her about the dumpsters and the call with Silas. She said during the call, Laura just tried to tell her to calm down and she was overreacting. And then Hennessy asked about after seeing news coverage of the missing boys. Hennessy clarifies that when Silas was there in September, she was only there to visit her daughter, and she said yes. Hennessy finished by asking that the only reason Laura was shocked was when she saw the news coverage and then Silas called her. She said yes. Laura had been excused. That's the most Hennessy's done throughout the whole entire trial. Okay, so I think that I thought this guy was up yesterday. I could be wrong. Alfredo Bayaca, who works with the Kern County Crime Lab. Okay, so he started yesterday. They were showing him images of the West van. They were looking at the interior of the van, the car seats within the van, and Prosecutor Smith asked if any of the car seats were seized, and Bayaca said they did not seize any evidence at that time. I know what he's talking about. Other photos show the contents from the front driver's side, the front passenger area, the front console, the rear hatch, and the floor. Bayaca said they were instructed to look for pools of blood, any sign of foul play, or any receipts. He said they did not find any receipts. As far as blood, he believes his partner was the one spraying for blood. He said they used a Kastle-Meyer test and a Blue Star test. He said the KM tests were both negative. He said the Blue Star test brought back very small reactions at the front of the van, so they didn't collect them. They did not collect fingerprints from the van either. Bayaca said they were already aware that the boys had in fact been in the van in the past, so he said collecting fingerprints wouldn't have been probative. And then Torres Stallings got up and was questioning him, and Bayaca says his partner was taking notes and writing the report. He said they were processing the van after hours. After referring to the report, he says that the van came in on December 23rd, 2020, around 4:30 p.m. He says they were notified beforehand that it was coming in. The van had been driven by a Cal City police officer. He says they were given a synopsis of what was happening in the investigation, and Bayaca says he doesn't recall if at that time they were told that the department didn't think the children ran away. Bayaca says again, since it was family vehicle, the amount of fingerprints and DNA in the van wasn't probative. They were instructed to look for large pools of blood only. So Torres Stalling asked him if they removed the actual seat cushions and seats in the van while processing it, and Bayaca said they did not. They only removed the car seats while processing the van. Bayaca said it took a little more than 3 hours to process it all together. He explained how the Kastle-Meyer tests work, and he said it doesn't confirm the presence of blood, but if they find something they believe could be blood, they swab it, place it in the solution, and it would change to pink. He said the test was negative. Then Torres Stallings asked him about looking for receipts in the van. Bayaca said they were looking for foul play. He said while they found receipts, the officer they showed them to said there was nothing probative to the investigation. Torres Stalling is showing an image of one of the passenger doors, and the window has a number of fingerprint smudge marks on it. So she says, none of these fingerprints were lifted for testing. He's like, I told you, they weren't. An image of the front passenger belongings shows a diaper. Doris Stalling asked if Bayaka remembers if the diaper was used. He did not remember. It was not seized. Another image shows baby wipes. These were not seized. All right, then Hennessy got up and he was asking him about the Castlemeyer test again. It's not a confirmation of blood, but presumptive. Same with the Blue Star. If either of these tests show a positive, the next step would be to swab and test at a lab for blood. And then Hennessy asked if this means there could be false positives, and Bayaka said correct. And then they excused him. And that was it. And they're not going to be back until Tuesday at 9 a.m., which means I have a few days off because I had some other stuff I wanted to work on, some other videos. So that's good. And I tell you guys, I got to stop watching Letitia Stout's trial. I've been watching it when I go on, I try to when I feel like it's boring on the west side, I'll turn down the volume a little bit and listen to this Stout trial. I can't help it. But I'm not letting you down on this. I'm relying on my notes. I'm relying on Twitter. I'm going to get all this information to you every day. I promise till the end of this dad blasted trial. And so you will not hear from me again until Tuesday evening at the earliest in regards to the West trial, but I will be putting some other stuff out. In the meantime, you guys have a blessed week and stay safe. And I will talk to you then.